Morning all, and welcome to a edition of a new series on the Breakfast Club, at least for the time being. I am Gothatfunk, as you can see in the corner right over there, and that's my friend Ravin right there. Hello, Ravin. How are you doing?
I am okay. How you doing, Paul?
I'm fine. Now, as we briefly touched on before we went live, I kind of thought it was really appropriate for you to be the first person that I interviewed when I had this idea to do interviews, because obviously I stole this channel from you. And I didn't really steal it from you. I more like exhumed it, is a better way of putting it, right? I exhumed it and revived it like Frankenstein. Who's the monster now?
That goes back to a discussion from the last show.
Exactamundo. Anyway, so I'm very pleased to say that tonight's show is all about you. Okay, we are here to find out things about your life that people may or may not know. I've known you or been acquainted with you now for what, 10, 11 years on the internet. And so I already do know some of the answers to some of the questions. They're sort of like, I can't help it. I want to make, like I said, I'm going to ask everybody certain questions that are the same for everybody. And then I'm going to ask each other people, everybody else, I'm going to ask specific questions to those individuals based on, who they are, what they've been up to, and, how short I want the show to be. I'm just,
Anyway. Hang on one second. I'm sorry.
Hang on 1 second.
I'm like putting everything on hold already. We've been on for a minute. Hang on 1 second.
That's all right. That's okay. That's a very nice flag and pair of chairs I see there. Anyway, so we'll be doing a series of interviews. They're not going to be regular. They'll be coming sort of whenever. I'm going to be interviewing former hosts of the show and current hosts of the show, including guest hosts of the show. In fact, most of the people on the Breakfast Club these days who attend the jamborees were never regular contributors on the Breakfast Club. Most of them were guest contributors. People like Agent of Doubt was a guest contributor. Who else? The regular contributors would be like Kazoom and Sister Danger and Nathan and myself and Joe. And Bionic Dance is coming back for an interview. I'll be talking to her on Wednesday. I'm very much looking forward to talking to Kate and getting caught up with her. It's been a while since she's been on the channel. And I'm also looking forward to getting to find out more about her as well. Now that you're back, we can make it about you again, because tonight is supposed to be all about you. So, and like I say, I have questions for everybody that are a little bit stock and standard and might seem a little bit, banal, but we have to start somewhere. So first of all, where were you born? You're muted.
No, I'm not.
Where were you born?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, we're having internet trouble here. It's been since the cold snap started. It keeps crashing. I'm good still.
Well, you didn't freeze as far as I could see, anyway. So.
Okay, well, I wasn't muted. I wasn't muted, so the audio wasn't going through for some reason. Okay. I was born in New Jersey.
You were born in New Jersey, so you're literally a Jersey person. And have you lived outside of Jersey besides when you were in the service?
Nope.
Wow.
I am a Jersey girl through and through.
I didn't even know there were people that were born and stayed in New Jersey.
I love New Jersey. So you obviously New Jersey gets a bad rap. I love New Jersey.
New Jersey does get a bad rap. I shouldn't really speak in any kind of disparaging way, because I've never been there, so I have no opinion whatsoever. But yeah, it does get certain stereotypes, which I think is interesting. And smoke, fire. I don't know what to say. So anyway, that pretty much negates my next question. So, who was president when you were born?
Nixon. 1971. I guess that was Nixon.
That would have been Nixon, right? And when you were going through school, did you like it?
No.
Something tells me you might not have fitted in.
I did. I didn't. Yeah, I was teased a lot. I was picked on a lot. I am not very like flamboyant or very very effeminate, um, but I wasn't like the other guys. I wasn't like the other boys. I'm sure there was that, but then there was the academic side of school where I just didn't. I didn't. I didn't care. I didn't care because I was never challenged, and so school was just misery all the way through. I hated it.
You hated it because of the social aspect or the academic aspect?
All of it. All of it. I slept in classes. I cut school. Um,
Was that
from
just in
like
high school, or was that when you were younger as well?
middle school and high school.
All right.
I don't in New Jersey. I don't know about everywhere. We have like middle school, so you have your
Okay.
primary schools up to fourth grade, and high school starts at ninth grade. So in between is middle school.
Right. Okay.
Uh, at least in the suburbs in New Jersey, that's what we have.
Sure. Yeah. And when you were going through school, when you were a kid, how early on did you realize that you were gay?
No idea. No idea. I never had that moment because I'm not really gay.
Got that, but we're going to get to that because it's an evolution of understanding.
It is an and that's what it is. So there was an evolution. Like I always knew that I was different, and I think that the kids around me knew before I did, um, because they would tease me. So
Sure.
and they'd come up to me. I don't know, in the cafeteria line, I would have boys, pick on me, and they would go like this at me and everything else. Um, and I wasn't like good at sports. I wasn't good at like doing the rough, tough, and tumble things that boys do. Um, and that makes you stand out, especially in the suburbs in New Jersey in the '80s. So,
Sure. Sure. So you would have been in high school in the late '80s, is that right?
yep, class of
Okay.
'89.
Class of '89, right? Okay, right. Did you have a favorite teacher at any point when you were going to school, or were they all just
Yes,
abominable?
yes, I had an English teacher that I absolutely loved, Mr. Lightcap, my eighth grade English teacher. He and I are friends to this day. He's a
Wow,
friend
that's
on
pretty cool.
Facebook. Yeah.
That is amazing. And was your favorite teacher because funny, or you learned more, or why was he? Why was that? What made
Um,
him your favorite?
he had it. He was a hippie. Like literally, he's a hippie. So he just kind of had a very free flowing style. Um, he he's a writer, which I guess kind of goes with an English teacher kind of a thing quite often. And I wanted to be a writer at one point, and I still do. Maybe one day I'll write a book. Um, but I mean, he would do a lot of stuff with poetry and his own poetry, and so that always kind of caught my attention. Um, and when kids would go at me, he would allow me to go back at them, which is something that normally wasn't allowed. So, like most people who have gotten into even just arguments in school knows, the first person that throws the insult is usually the last person that throws an insult because that's where it gets shut down. So if you're
Right.
the one on the receiving end, you never really get to reciprocate, right? Because there's always silence before that. But he would allow it to go back. So I learned how to insult people in his class.
What an interesting takeaway, and not what you expect to hear when you talk about someone's favorite teacher.
And and anybody who is friends with me on Facebook knows that that is a skill that I have honed.
What? How to insult people?
And insult people.
Well, I can write a good letter, but yeah, I don't know, but I'm not so sure if I'm very good at insulting people because I really don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But
Some people deserve to have their feelings hurt, Paul.
and everybody tells me that every time I say what I just said. That's literally the automatic response, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Some people are jerks, and some people don't deserve respect, and some people don't. But I can't help myself. I try
I
to
just
person.
got a
You know,
20 I just got a 24-hour ban on Facebook for calling somebody a jizz muffin.
You got what?
A 24-hour ban on Facebook because I called someone a jizz muffin.
Which
Isn't that
is
stupid?
the offensive half of that?
That's what I want to know.
I don't understand. Jizz is you can play it in Scrabble. It's a word. It's you know it's
Oh,
not
right.
you know I don't
Yeah.
know, man. Wow. Okay, that I don't want to go down that one. You know. Anyway, okay. What about your first car, Raven? Now, when I was growing up, hot rods were a thing. Did you have any kind of? Were you into cool cars, or did you just have to get whatever?
My first car was a 1971 Dodge Dart Swinger, and Dodge Dart, slant six. The only way to kill that car was to never put oil in it. Other than that, you could drive it to the end of the earth. And it was like booger green, which was a very common color for cars from the 70s.
That's right. Yeah. I had a friend who had a green Hornet. That was the AMC Hornet. It was the booger green that you just described.
And I never got to drive it. That was my first car, and I never got to drive it.
Okay, there's
So
a whole story behind that.
I was working. I was working at Toys R Us, and it was like an hour away because where I live, there's like I'm in the woods, even like to this day. I live in the town that I grew up in, and there's nothing here. It's woods. There's black bear, you know. So everything is a drive. So I had to drive an hour, and I didn't have a car yet. So my dad would drive me to work. So I was working at Toys R Us an hour away, full time, saving the money to insure the car. And the day I got paid, that I finally had enough money. Now in New Jersey, insurance is very expensive. So when I finally saved enough money to insure the car, I was so happy. I got my paycheck. My dad picked me up. I got in the car, and he said to me, "I have bad news for you. Someone slid in the snow and slammed into your car." And I'm holding my check, and I'm going, "What?"
Oh my goodness. That's the kind of thing that happens to me, but except I'm the guy who slammed into your car. Right. Let me look at my thing here. How old were you the first time you definitely knew for sure you were in love?
First time I definitely knew that I was in love. And I was right, or I was wrong.
Okay, when I say definitely knew, is by that I mean you look back on it and you go, "Yeah, I was in love." You look back on it and you go, "Jesus Christ, what was I thinking?" I was infatuated. That's not love. That you can just by now you can distinguish the difference, but while you're in it, you might not be able to. That kind of thing.
I consider myself to be very, very fortunate when it comes to love. There are people in this world that go their entire lives, and they never find that person. They hook up constantly, or they're always alone, or they're stuck in a relationship where they're miserable. I've had three great loves. That's how I define them as my great loves. I've had three in my life, and I've been very, very lucky. Two women and a man. And the one that kind of burned the hottest and hurt the most was the man. It's somebody I've spoken about on the Breakfast Club on my channel.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that more in a little while, I reckon, for sure. But but how old were you when that was going on?
Well, I mean, with him, I met him when I was 28. Yeah, I was
Was he
28.
your first great love, though?
He was my first boyfriend. He was my only boyfriend. Yeah, my first great love I met in 1986. So I was 15.
Wow.
I married her.
Mm-hmm.
Had two kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll get onto that when I get onto the personal questions. So
those of you who can hear this, I am so sorry. That's my furnace. It's going to kick on a lot because it is very cold here tonight. Sorry. Also, the cold keeps knocking our internet out. So if I drop out or it gets all weird, that's why.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to let you do a little bit of freestyling. I know you're totally capable of doing so because we're sort of right around the area where I can come back to the other buddy questions, but this we're in this sort of life moment here. So like when you got married to your first wife, which I guess was your only actual married wife, although as far as I'm concerned, Peach was your wife, you know. But anyway, when you got married, uh, were you in the closet or were you in denial?
I was in denial about being in the closet. Yeah, I mean, when when we were dating, I would say that I was in denial. Um, on the day that we got married, I knew,
Oh
um,
wow!
and I was already cheating. I was already finding men to have hookups with and stuff. Um, so I had been with her. See, we got married in '94, so I had been with her for years. Many years.
Right, right.
So, and yeah, when I went into the service, that is when I started, in a way that wouldn't be considered experimenting anymore. Is when I started um, hooking up with men or meeting men.
Sure.
So,
Right. So when you were married, like you say, if you already knew on the wedding day that it was too late because you'd already had some liaisons and stuff like that. Um, I mean, how did it all unfold within your marriage? I mean, did you get caught or did
so,
you see something or describe how it went?
so when I went away, when I went to basic training, I had already proposed. Um, so we had planned to get married when I was done with the service. And when I came home, I got her pregnant. So I wasn't backing out. And I loved her. I still care about her very much. But,
I'm sure she's the mother of your first two kids.
right. And she was the love of my life for many years. But whatever, her life took her where it went. But I mean, for, a long time, I just would, when an opportunity would present itself and then I could get away, I would meet men. I would find ways to hook up. Um, this was towards the end of the big AIDS scare, and towards the end of like the massive die off. Is when drugs actually were becoming available to people, so it wasn't as dangerous as it was before, and people were playing. Good way to put it. Um, the internet wasn't really a thing yet, but what I did was I joined the gym because my thinking was, well, gay men would want to go to the gym, so I joined the gym.
Because you wanted to get fit.
Fit, yes.
Right. Okay. So I mean, like, but I mean, did she have like some idea, that things were amiss, or were you like an expert at like were you like basically the ninja
Oh yeah,
at the double life?
yeah. I totally ninjafied that. Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
that must be hard to live with. I mean, while
Um,
it's happening, not afterwards, not now. It's already done. You can't take it back if you wanted to. But I mean, while you were doing it,
no,
was it tricky?
no, no. I mean, no. It was. You learn. This is really bad. Anybody who has been through it, anybody who had been in the closet, um, would understand this. You learn how to. It's flipping a switch. Um, you know.
Did you feel like you were living a double life, like there's like literally two versions of
Yes.
you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would like turn one on and off depending on what the situation was.
Right.
Sorry. I don't know. Do you hear that?
I can hear that. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of cute.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. So I can't remember. I should know this like off the top of my head. Your first son is the oldest, and then your daughter, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought I had in my head. Anyway, and how old were they when everything came out?
Um, well, how old were they? 5 and 2.
Okay, so they've had lots of time to get used to it since then, obviously. But was it hard for them in the beginning, was it? I mean, it's difficult to put myself in that position because even when there's not this type of an issue, breakups can be messy, and when kids are involved, people can say bad things to the children about their absent partner, and it can be a real drag.
Um, yeah. Well, there were a lot of issues with all that kind of stuff. Like my daughter does not remember before.
Sure,
Uh, you know, as far as she's concerned, I was never there.
right,
Um,
right.
but Devin remembers, and he it was hard for them, um, more so that because they actually saw me more. Like after we split, they saw me more often. Um, I went out of my way to make sure that I was as present as I could be. They also spent a lot more one-on-one time with me, where I would have them for like every weekend. I would take them every weekend,
All
and
right.
we were like glued together. Even if I had to work that weekend, I took them with me to work. I mean, it was just like a constant together. And we would sleep because at the time I had moved in with Ozzy, and I was, you know, sharing a bed with him. So when the kids came over, I would sleep with them on the floor in the living room. We had an air mattress, and I would sleep with them on the floor in the living room. Um, so I would have one under each arm.
Well, that's a total bonding experience, though. You know,
Yeah, it was.
pretty
It was. It
special.
was. There were some good times.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. I mean, even when like that's a good example of the fact that even when things don't go the way they do on television or fairy tales, it doesn't necessarily mean people are miserable about it. You know what I mean? I mean, if you put in the effort to make it as all right as it can be given the given circumstances, it can work out. Kids can grow up and they can be well adjusted despite coming from a broken home or whatever the hell.
Right.
Which I hate that term. Because as far as I'm concerned, I've never seen one that wasn't. But
So,
you know,
what was one of the things that I said several times over the years was that it's not a broken home; it's an extended family. Um,
that's a good way to look at it. It's, so when you were in the service, was that during the whole "don't ask, don't tell" era?
yeah,
Right. Okay. And did that make it difficult for you?
actually, it was right before "Don't Ask, Don't Tell."
Okay.
When I was in this, I enlisted for during because I enlisted in '92, so that was the year that Clinton took office.
Right.
No, that was the year he was elected. He took office.
That was he was elected, took office next year,
So,
and Don't ask, don't tell came in like '96 or something like that. I don't know,
so
'94
that was
maybe.
when I enlisted. I actually enlisted in '91, so it was during Bush. When I went in, it was Clinton, and there was a lot of jokes about Clinton's army because of "Don't Ask, Don't Tell." Um, the drill sergeants had a good time with that. You
Yeah,
know,
I'll bet they did. Well, and so we touched a minute ago on I asked you, when did you first know you were gay, and then you said, and I understand why, and I said it's an evolution of understanding.
right?
When I met you 10 years ago, you described yourself to me as gender fluid, which at the time for me was a new term. I've heard it well since then, but back in '09 or 10, whatever it was I think it was 2010 when I met you. And I had never heard that term before. And I'm like, you kind of figure it out without having to even look it up, what it means. You know what I mean? Because it kind of means kind of both becoming neither. That's the way I sort of interpreted it at the
That was
time.
that was always the kind of way that I kind of wore that title, that badge. Was just kind of both, kind of neither.
Okay.
I used to tell people all the time, I would tell them that I am more man than they would ever be and more woman than they can get. Um,
That's pretty. That's pretty you. That's not. That should have your stamp on it, right? Famous quotes of Ravin. Anyway, and so yeah. I mean, and you. I think on the show recently you mentioned that you started presenting in June of this, just 2021. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So at what point did you like internally make up your mind that that was the only way to actually find the sort of peace of mind that you really needed to find?
Okay, so I don't know. I mean, it's just like everything else. I mean, it was an evolution. I know there are people that are just like, oh, I can point to the day, or I can point to the event or the person that influenced, and I can't really do any of that. I mean, it was also so fluid. But there were moments that were, I guess, that were like
It seems
benchmarks.
like I'm ignorant because it's never happened to me, so I don't know. But it just seems like there must be a like I just figured it out moment. You know what I mean? Like hang on a minute, this is possible, and I can do this if I want to do this. And but like prior to that, maybe you're not really thinking in terms of it as a possibility because you're trained to think it's not a possibility.
Most of the thing is the framing that we all have for things in our own head is very individualized based on our experiences and the things that we've been taught. And so sometimes it's hard to understand what somebody else is talking about or what they're going through or how they see it. But like, okay, so before I was with Ozzy, when I was sneaking around behind my wife's back with him,
Right.
one of the first times that we went to because we went to motels, that's what we would do. We would go to the gym and then we would leave the gym and go find a motel. And one of the first times that we like went to the motel after the act, I was feeling very insecure about myself. And he asked what's up, and I was just like, does doing what we just did, does that make me less of a man? Because I was raised, in a way that, gay men aren't men. Um,
Sure. I mean, it doesn't even stop it being gay. It stops all sorts of sort of like non-masculine type of things, and
right.
So yeah,
I mean,
cool.
and it's just like, so what does that say about me as a person? What does that say about me as a man? Am I now not a man? Is my masculinity now in danger? It's all the toxic bullshit that all men, are raised with or exposed to in our society. There's no escaping it. It's there. Um, and part of figuring out me was dealing with all of that. And once I began to unpackage it and unfold it, it just kept going. It was like layers, layer after layer after layer. So there was never really like a aha moment. Not real ones, just kind of small benchmarks along the way.
I'm
So
just
there was
gonna have
that.
to take your word for it because I can't figure it out.
Okay, and then like years later with him, now divorced, living with him, we went out, we went to the city, we went drinking, and dancing. We were going to clubs, we were bouncing around in the clubs in New York City. And then we went back home, and I was plastered, and we stripped down, and I'm totally drunk, and we start like making out and touching each other, and blah 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 blah. And he puts his hands across my chest, and I pushed his hand away, not even thinking about it. I said, "Don't touch me there." And he's like, "Why?" And I said, "I wish I had tits." And just kind of poof, and he stopped. And he was like, "What?" And I said, "It just feels weird that there's nothing there. Why would you touch my chest when there's nothing there? It's stupid." And the next day, when I was sober, we talked about it. And he hopped online because now the internet was a thing. He hopped online and he found a pharmacy, an online pharmacy, and he ordered my first batch of hormones. He ordered right then and there, and that was it. My journey began.
Right.
And that was about 17 years ago.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. So, how long ago was that and everything? Yeah. So that's cool because I mean you've had breasts ever since I've known you. So,
I mean, they're a lot bigger now than they used to be.
huh?
They've grown quite a bit in the last year. You know,
Okay.
but I mean, yes, I've had them for a long time. They're just bigger now.
That's cool. Which
I
one
think
was it?
so. I
Yeah,
like
I
them.
think so too. And why not?
It is what it is.
So getting back to the whole family thing for a second, though. I mean, was there like a period of estrangement at any point, or was everything, at least with you and the kids? It sounds like there wasn't. But I mean, what about with you and their mom?
Oh, still.
Oh, still okay, right,
Oh,
right.
still.
Because you,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. She's a terrible person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
Well, I mean, like that's interesting. I mean, I
well,
don't talk to my kids now either,
she
huh?
has a lot of animosity towards me, a lot of hatred, because I lied. I lied. And um, she blames me for the condition that her life is in today. And I think that she is where she is because she's made a lot of choices from between then and now. So that's
Yeah,
not my fault. But what is my fault is her being on the road that led to those decisions.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, I can't walk away from that scot free. I
You're not
bear
wrong.
I, I bear some responsibility. But I mean, she had plenty of choices to make along the way, and I had nothing to do with those. So, and it sucks, and it's a shame. And there's a lot of things about her life that are kind of miserable, and I feel really badly for her. But she has the power to change it.
Sure.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
I'm
if you can make the kind of changes you're making, she can make a few changes that are nowhere near on the same scale.
right. I mean, I'm almost. I'll be 51 in March. I'm almost 51. Look at this. I'm almost 51. People, come on.
You're quite funny. Almost 51. It's a prize. No, I mean honestly, I mean I know I probably said this in the streams, but every day is gravy as far as I'm concerned because I thought we were going to be blowing up a long time ago. Anyway, so that's my thing.
So along those lines, right? My dad was born in 1945, and when he was born, he had a hole in his heart the size of a $50.
Wow.
And they did not think he would survive past 8 years old. Um, and he was the seventh child out of 13, and his father had a bad leg that he dragged when he walked. He couldn't really use his leg; he dragged it. Um, and he was a drunk. He was an alcoholic, and he was in and out of jail a lot. So they had nothing. They lived in a house with no bathroom. They had to use the bathroom at the gas station across the street. They didn't have electric. The roof leaked. All that kind of the whole thing. And
Probably.
yeah. I mean, he was, you know, it was
Yeah.
bad. I mean, he was born in 1945. You
Right.
know,
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Times will change, and I know that. Yeah.
And I mean, he was supposed to be dead at 8. So they were going to do a surgery. There was no such thing as medical insurance, and they didn't have the money for it. And my grandmother had asked the doctors what are the chances of survival if you do the surgery. They said 50-50. They said, what are the chances of survival if you don't do the surgery? And they said 50-50. She said, don't do the surgery. So every day past 8 years old for my father was a bonus. He said
Wow.
it was all a bonus. He had 5 kids. He had 20 something grandchildren, and when he died, he had a great grandchild. And at 75 years old, he died last year because of fucking COVID. But I
I
mean,
know
he
that.
had an attitude. He had an attitude much like you, where it was every day is a bonus. This is all gravy. This is fantastic. Just being alive. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is, I mean, I've already expressed my condolences, but I mean, that's just such a freaking tragedy, you know. Um, I, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We talk about that stuff every week. Um, anyway, let's get back to this. Okay, I might already know the answer to this in your case. But what's the worst thing you've ever done for money?
um, I don't know
And
if I
you
want
can
to.
take that any number of ways.
I held a job, punched the clock. I honestly like I know what you were thinking, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Um, I was an escort. Is I guess the most polite way to put it. I never walked the street, so I wasn't like I wasn't a hooker. But I mean, I was an escort. I took off my clothes and touched people for money, and I don't think that's the worst thing. I think the
No, I
worst
don't
thing
think
that
it's
I did.
bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's bad either. But I mean, that's why I say you can take it any way you want because
Right. So I
some
think the
people might
worst
think
thing
it's
that
the
I've
worst
ever
you've done
done
for
for
money. Some
money.
people might think working at McDonald's is the worst thing you've done for money,
Right.
right? I mean,
And I think the worst thing I've ever done for money was to punch a clock and work 50 hours a week for nearly minimum wage. And give somebody my sweat and my blood and my time and got peanuts for it. That was the worst thing I ever did for money.
minimum wage jobs.
Selling, just my opinions. If you're doing it right, selling your body is much less of a sacrifice than selling your soul for peanuts. So,
Well, I mean, I can relate to that. I guess I'm not because I've sold my body, but I've had a few jobs that were just like, you know, not very enriching, shall we say.
yeah.
Not, and I don't just mean that in the monetary sense. I mean, it's just like, why am I doing this? Oh, because I can't get anything else right now, you know, and it's
Yeah,
not
I mean,
necessary.
sometimes you can have a job that's not really paying well, but you're getting something else from it. It's like, what am I getting here? Is it medical benefits? Is it experience? I mean, is this enriching my life in some way that may not be monetary? And if it's not, and it's not paying, jump ship, get the fuck out. Because I mean, why? There are ways to make the same amount of money and gain something else that's going to enrich your life.
Well put. You should put that in a greeting card. Um, anyway, what's the best job you've had in terms of the most personally fulfilling job that you've had that you felt they're paying me for this? You know,
Never have one like that.
huh?
Never,
You never had
never
a
had.
job like that? No,
No.
no, it's too bad. Yeah. So basically, it's just been all about getting the money. I mean, I suppose even when you had your restaurant, it was more frustration than fulfillment, wasn't it?
Well, see now the restaurant, I never made a dime. I never profited. I never made a dime. I worked 120 hours a week.
Jesus.
Uh,
There's only 168 hours in a week.
yeah, I worked 20 hours a week, and I was tired. I put on about 60 or 70 pounds. Um, never made a dime. I missed the deli so much, so much.
What, just the
I,
social aspects of it?
and then just the work. It was clean. It was not clean as in it was greasy and dirty, but I mean it was clean as in it was real. It was honest. It was it was work. It was real work, and it was fulfilling in that way. Um, that I was doing something that was so pure because it was
Yeah,
for me.
I get that, man. Yeah, I totally get that because I used to get that feeling when I was a scaffolder. It's just because it's like also because from my point of view, Raven, I when I was a body piercer, 90% of my customers were women, so all my friends ended up being women, and I completely forgot how to become friends with men. So when I got into scaffolding, it was really good for me to learn that as a skill because I kind of stopped liking men for a long time, but I am
Uh,
right now.
well, it's easy to not like men.
There's lots of jerks in the world, that's for sure. You
They
know,
make it really easy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But the people in the comment section are being quite nice tonight, I have to say. Anyway, right. So this is a duper. This is a super duper. This is a woozy. This is a maybe take a moment, recollect. What do you personally think is the biggest mistake you've ever made?
I know the answer. I don't have to think about the answer. I have to think about how to answer.
Fine.
Biggest mistake I ever made was hooking up with that guy Mike. So there was this guy who was chasing me. I was in a really bad place emotionally. I was in a really
What
bad
year would
place.
this
It was
be?
after.
Do you know some era?
I'm sorry.
How long
I,
ago?
2008.
Okay.
I was in emotionally a bad spot. It was just after Ozzy and I split. I was with Ozzy for 9 years, and when that relationship ended, I was a complete basket case for a while. Drinking a lot, clubbing a lot of sex, and so there's this guy. He looked like he was a really bad boxer. Like he lost a lot of fights, is what he looked like. Um, he looked life had really beat the fuck out of him. That's what he looked like. Um, but he was nice. But he was always coming after me. Always, 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 always wanting to hook up. Always wanted to hang out. Always wanted. He wanted a girlfriend. And that was around the time that I was just kind of trying on the gender fluid label. And I gave in one night and hooked up with him. And found out later he's HIV positive, and now I'm HIV positive. So, biggest mistake I ever made.
Well, yeah, I suppose that's an easy one to identify. As you don't have to, you don't have a lot of competition in terms of the mistake, annals of mistakes that one might have made. And
Oh
and
my god! You know what's bad? I mean, I could like say about how like, oh, obviously that decision has followed me all my life since then. Obviously, it has because I'm HIV positive.
mm,
It's even worse than that. It turns out he goes to bingo. He plays bingo. And he plays bingo at the same fucking place my mom plays bingo. And they recently met and talked about me. And when she told me, I'm like, why are you talking to him? He's the one who got me infected with HIV.
oh my goodness,
And she was just like, you slept with him? And she was like, he looks like a boxer. I was like, yeah, he does.
hold that thought. I just have to get a drink real quick. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. I have no idea who's here. How many people are here? Hang on. Four. There's only 4 people watching. Oh, come on. Come on. I'm insulted. I thought I would have a larger, draw.
Well, the thing is, I should have
But
really done
this,
more preparation and promotion for these interviews, but my own personal life, I've been up to here
well,
in
I
water. So
posted the link on my. I posted the link on my Facebook page, and my Ravin July Facebook page. I've got almost 5,000 followers there, so I figured I would get more than 1 or 2 people, but apparently nobody loves me.
oh well, I wouldn't take it that way. It's me that they don't love. Anyway, it's me. I'm the problem. Anyway, but no, seriously. So that was 2008. I don't know why, Raven, but for some reason I thought that it was longer ago than that because um, the when you started doing the charity events, that was like 2010. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you did them for like 5 or 6 years in a row. And but I had thought that you had it for, I don't know why I thought that, but I thought that you had it for a much longer time
No,
at that time.
yeah, no, no. And I don't know if I did or said anything that would make people believe that. I don't know.
No, it's
But
probably me. I make shit up in my head all
the
the time.
entire
Um,
time, The entire time that you've known me, though, I have been positive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
from your perspective, that's forever.
right. Okay. Now we've talked a lot about certain behaviors which were less than honest. So this might be a hard one to nail down. But what do you reckon is the biggest or the worst, most flagrant lie you've ever told?
Ah, wow. What is this? Let's paint Raven a liar show?
No,
Um,
not at all. You're the one you said it, and it's part of my ask everybody questions.
I know.
So
I'm
you're off the hook. At least,
um,
well, I'm off the hook.
I don't know. I guess it would be the cheating. I guess on my ex-wife.
Right, fair enough. Yeah, that's always a toughie for sure.
Yeah.
Um, what do you reckon is your offspring don't count? What do you reckon is your proudest achievement?
Madness, mayhem, and charity.
Yeah, I suppose so. Because over the 5 years or so, or is it 6 years? I know for sure five.
I don't something like that.
I mean, how much they gave you a plaque and everything, didn't they? Because you were like their top
So
single donor.
I for those of you who don't know, because I know there's a couple of people because they're in the comments that have not known me a long time. They're from Facebook or they're Vegas who doesn't really know me. Um, they might think that they know me, but Vegas, you don't know me. So back in my YouTube career, in like 2010, I started doing these fundraising events to raise money for HIV research, um, and they were very successful. I don't know exactly how much money I raised. I raised money though for um, Gay Men's Health Crisis, the HIV/AIDS Alliance, and the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative. And most of the money that we raised went to IAVI, the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative. And we raised so much money in the first few years of doing the event that they put a plaque up on their wall in Manhattan with my name on it. It's now my dead name, but whatever. With my name on it because I was the highest donating um, private individual on the planet through the fundraiser. So
That's great. That's something you deserve to be proud of, as far as I'm concerned.
well, I mean, it's it was a legit. First off, I have about and at the time had also about 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Um, by today's standards and by the standards of 2010, that's nothing. That's a
Right.
tiny channel. That's a small channel. That's nothing. Um, so by the standards of the time, I was a nobody on YouTube. And yet I managed to schedule a 36-hour nonstop um, broadcast with
Video
approximately
marathon.
a marathon with approximately 30 hosts around the globe, around the clock, um, and got thousands of viewers from around the world. On one of the sites that we used for collections, it told you where people were watching from, and we had people all over the world, literally all over the world, on every continent except for Antarctica, um, and just literally around the world we had viewers, and I'm very very proud of that.
Yeah, and you had some YouTubers that were so popular I had never even heard of them. Contribute for their hour.
Well, we had theoretical bullshit, who is a soap opera TV star.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was on. Jacqueline Glenn was on. The Amazing Atheist canceled on me. Lacey Green canceled on me. Um,
Oh, but they agreed to do it, then canceled.
they agreed to do it and then pulled out. Both The Amazing Atheist and Lacey Green. The Amazing Atheist did it first. Um, the first year that I did it, he was supposed to be on. I appeared on a fundraiser he did in exchange for him appearing on Management Charity. And I held up my end of the deal. And when it came time for him to show up, he did not. Which is, for TJ, that's pretty much par for the course. So a couple of years later, I had a falling out with Lacey Green after she was already scheduled to be on. And she was just like, okay, fuck you, I'm not going on. And she canceled.
Wow.
It took about an hour for The Amazing Atheist to put up a video calling out Lacey Green for standing up an AIDS charity. It's like, dude, you did the same thing to the same charity. So, yeah. But, I mean, the event, the success of the event, the amount of time that it ran, how it worked every year, how we were able to do it without any major fuck-ups, I am so proud of how all of that worked.
You should be, because I used to be kind of known for getting together a few collab videos back in the day, and that was kind of hard to organize, you know, as well. Those were kind of hard to organize, I should say, but it's always great fun, or at least it was back in those days when people actually were responsive and, you know, everybody was all about everybody. And that's a good segue into, I mean, we met when there was a YouTube community, right? And I hate arguments about whether it ever was in a community or, I mean, my channel is proof that there was a YouTube community. I mean, if you actually go back and look at those videos and see that we're talking to each other all the time. Well,
I mean, the channel that actually gave birth to this show, you know, was the same exact thing. It was proof that there was a community, and beyond that, it was proof that there was a community that had things to say, outwardly and to each other, and yeah, it's still here and it's still thriving. You go, man.
You and Peach have been together for like 10 and a half or 11 years now. Right. Yeah. And in that amount of time, I mean, one of the main reasons I thought that Peach didn't make videos as often anymore is because of all the drama when you guys first got together. And I mean, there was a brief sort of, I can't remember, it was 2012 or 13 when she was going to come back and she started a Patreon, but then she never really came back because I guess life gets in the way. But I mean, like, and you sort of came back and left in little tiny spurts for a while as well. And
trying to come back again, actually. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'm on the same page, bro. Sis, sorry, slow paw. Anyway, but yeah, the whole point is, I haven't paid any attention to my channel for over a year, and I feel really stupid about it. You know, yeah, and I love YouTube and I love making videos, but I don't know, man. I just don't seem to have the headspace I used to have for it, or the patience for the comments like I used to have for it, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it scares me to think back in the 2010 era when I was very active on my channel, how much time I spent answering comments and looking at other people's videos to decide which one I wanted to respond to today. And all, I mean, I spent 6 or 8 hours a day doing my channel, you know, and I haven't got that kind of time anymore, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed editing. I if you remember, a lot of my videos were heavily edited, and not to like get rid of mistakes, but more for effects. And I enjoyed doing that. I mean, I like when I hit 300 subscribers, I took the battle scene from 300 and I just edited the shit out of that. You know, posterized it and all kinds of neat stuff, and it was fun. It was neat. I enjoyed doing that stuff.
And what made you decide to do your character with the hat and the accent? I mean, what was that all about?
Earl. Oh God, what's frightening? Okay, so I don't know. It was just a stereotypical redneck. And, you know, I noticed with a lot of the things that we were discussing in the community, LGBT rights, the difference between the left and the right, and just, you know, non-belief in general, that there was this thread that ran through the other side that was a constant. And it was, you know, Southerners in cowboy hats and heavy accents talking about what is and is not in the Bible. And I thought, these aren't even like real people. They're cartoons of people. And that's what Earl was.
You made a caricature of one.
Right. And that's what Earl was. Earl was a cartoon of what these people were kind of representing. And Earl was a lot of fun to do. I obviously could not do Earl anymore.
No, it wouldn't work.
I would like to do an Earl video, but I couldn't do that anymore.
No. Okay. Yeah. So I lost my train for a second there. But back in the day, what do you think? Wait!
I'm sorry. I have to go back to Earl. Do you know why? Because Earl came true. Earl came true. We were watching TV, and there was this. They're talking about injecting bleach, right? Which was something that Earl talked about. Talked about chemtrails, right? Which is something that recently was being talked about again. That was a big thing for Earl. They were talking about nanobots. That was like Earl always said all the time that, the government was using nanobots to control the way that people thought. Somebody actually said that recently as a real thing. And
nanobots made them say it.
And I'm just like, I cannot believe. I mean, it's like fascinating and amazing that Earl came true. It's also frightening as fuck. That there are people that are saying things in real life for real in a very serious way that I said as a comedy character 10 years ago.
Yes,
frightening.
Today's reality.
It is fucking ridiculous. That's not me.
How many times when Donald Trump was president did you see a genuine headline and you had to double check it because you thought it might be The Onion?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, then how many times did The Onion actually have headlines that were absolutely honest?
Yeah, that's a skill. So, moving along, let's just say I was a genie and I could grant you 3 wishes. Right? One of the wishes can't be for yourself, and the other 2 can be for you. Go.
Okay. I don't know. I think that's kind of broad. Because, okay, so the one that can't be for myself would be for my children, but it would be all for all 4 of them. And it would for them to be, happy and healthy and that kind of stuff. And the other 2, I would give one to Peach. Because whatever is good for her is good for me. So she could use that for whatever she wanted. Because like I said, if she's happy, I'm happy. What's good for her is good for me. What's good for me is good for her. That's one of the great things about being in a healthy relationship. So the one for me would be for, transition. Just to get it done. Just do it. Just do it.
Just all together, over and done. Boom.
Just that's right, like that. Instead of this nightmare.
You could just do the dog trick where you raise the blanket and then drop the blanket, except for it's the brand new.
And there's Ravin, brand new, all her glory.
So, don't divulge anything too personal necessarily, but I mean, because you and Peach have been together for a long time, and I remember at the beginning it wasn't very easy, and it wasn't just the internet heat that you got from it, and there's heat from members of the family, which I don't want to name on the public broadcast, but I personally know there was members of the family that were I have never sort of, and that, as far as I understood at the time, was mostly based on the fact that you were HIV positive. Or was there more to it than that?
There was more to it than that.
Oh, okay.
There was more to it. I don't think HIV had anything to do with it at all.
Okay.
I think it was because I was LGBT.
Right.
That was the term used was sexual deviant. So.
I can't. I just that. Yeah, I can't. I can't.
And I don't. It was rough. It was rough. It was just rough. It was rough. I mean, most of the heat was internet though. Um, like IRL stuff, there was issues, I think, for both of us, learning how to trust, um, with good reason. I mean, Peach isn't somebody who's been, you know, dating lots of people and all over the world. She's quiet. She's reserved. She's, socially very conservative. Um, so, so there's that. And I am the exact opposite of all of that.
Mm.
Um, so we are not, intuitively a good match.
Right, but like
Um,
right off the bat, your relationship was unconventional, if that's the most appropriate word I can think up. Right off the bat, it was unconventional, and it has only exceeded to be. A month or two ago on the live stream, you said something I thought was particularly funny. You said you used to be a gay man who was in a heterosexual relationship, and now you're a gay woman, a straight woman in a gay relationship. And I thought that's pretty funny.
isn't that wild?
Determining the partner.
So I identified
That's a
as,
lot of adjusting, or is it not adjusting? Or are you just to her? Are you just the same, same, same?
to her. To her,
Yeah,
I
to
am.
her.
I am
Right.
me. It doesn't matter.
You've always been the same.
Well, like all of this doesn't matter to her.
Right.
She's in love with this and this.
I love
So
that. That you're a very lucky person.
I, I am. I am. I am. I
Yeah.
am.
I was thinking about offering Peach to do an interview. Do you think she'd be receptive to such a request? You can't
I
speak for
don't.
her, I know, but I mean, I was thinking about offering it to her.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Well,
I don't know if
I
she's
will.
watching. She might be watching. I don't know. I
I don't know
she,
that either.
I don't know. She might be watching. If she's
Yeah.
watching, maybe she'll put an answer in the chat. Let's take a look. Maybe.
You never know. But like, because I mean, other than myself, the only person doing the interviews that's still from my original 7 Breakfast Club hosts is Bionic Dance, and I would love to get Peach. I've also asked Josh if he'll do it. I haven't asked Jacob if he'll do one, and Sketchy White Dude has fallen off the face
Peach.
of the earth.
Peach.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Really. Peach said that she would do it. Yes. She sent me a message. She
Oh,
said she would do it.
yes. Oh, that's cool. I'll look forward to arranging that in due course, and I'll talk to her personally in a private chat at some point in the near future about it. That's great. Oh, that's super cool. So, Raven, I have one final question, which is one of the questions I'm going to ask for everybody, and that is, this is just one of those stupid, because everybody has different ideas about what would make an interesting dinner party conversation. So it's a fantasy dinner
So,
party question. They could be a
so if
living
I
or
was
dead.
if I was cheesecake,
Huh?
if I was cheesecake, what flavor would I? If I was cheesecake, what flavor would I be? Is that what you're asking?
No. I don't even know where you got that. No, seriously. If you could have seven party guests, right, living or dead, and you want to have an interesting party that you're going to enjoy, you personally are going to enjoy, and I hope you want your guests to enjoy it, but maybe you want your guests to fight. I don't know. Think about it. You have 7 people. They could be alive or anyone from history. Who would you have? And you're person number 8 to
My
round out the
dad.
table. You have your dad. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Right. So I'm correct. Eight people at the table. My dad. Um, Peach. Um, because she's like
Yeah.
right there. Any decisions that I make to do anything, she's there. I would never not include her. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't. You want to know something? I don't know if people know this about me yet. I don't give a shit about people.
Yeah, I know. You're not impressed by anybody.
I'm not. I'm really. No, I'm not.
No,
Um,
no, yeah, I just can't imagine you being all like that person's amazing, except for Peach. That's really it,
yeah,
you know.
Peach is amazing. Peach is, I mean, Peach is amazing, and everyone who knows her knows that. But um, I don't think if if we weren't in our relationship, I wouldn't know her. Like nobody knows Peach. I'm gonna tell you that right. Nobody. She gets all of these fans, and she gets messages. She gets more messages. Well, I don't know about anymore, but she gets close to at least the same or more messages on her social media than I do. And mine is always going like crazy. I have no idea how she's been able to handle it for so long. But everybody they think they know her, and people talk about how um, outgoing she is, and all kinds of stuff, and it's just like you don't know Peach at all. And if anybody out
Yeah,
there thinks that they, you don't. Um,
I don't know
and
Peach very well. I mean, we've been
so
acquainted for
for
a long
most
time, and I've
people,
seen a lot of her videos, but that doesn't mean I know
yeah,
her.
yeah, right, exactly. And for most people, whatever you think about her, as far as you think she's amazing, you haven't even come close. You haven't even come close. She is. I'm very lucky, and this is the healthiest relationship I have ever been in, and it is now at this point the longest relationship I've ever been in. And if any of the guys from Facebook are watching, that are constantly hitting me up, um, yeah, she's your competition, and you're already doing really poorly. So
It's an awful lot to compete with, that's for sure. Yeah. Oh
yeah, it is.
dear. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So goals going forward.
So yeah, so like I don't know. I don't know. So much of my life the last couple of years has become um, dominated by two things, and that is transition and my kids. Um, and my kids, they're everything. That they're first. They take precedence over everything. So as far as like goals, I mean, my goals are to be um, the best mom that I can be. So that's the primary thing. That's my goal. Make sure that they're happy, make sure that they're healthy, make sure they're getting what they need.
Yep, yep. In a sense, I'm quite jealous, and because I love kids, I love raising kids, and some people might say it's a bit late in life to have a 2-year-old kid. I don't think so, man. If you've got the energy for it, it's all about you're all about it, right? I mean, that's where it's at. If you got the energy, if you got the patience, if you got the
I,
intestinal fortitude to remain calm.
I don't. I don't. I don't.
Yes,
I
you
don't have
do.
any of that. I am so tired. I am so I'm so worn out. I lose my patience way too often.
Well, I mean, I have to
Um,
admit, when it comes, I got 4 grandkids, and my patience is not what it was when I was in my early 30s.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the kind of parent I am to the little ones is nowhere near what it was for Devin and Rochelle. Um, it's the thing that's the same is that they are basically the center of my existence at this point. Um, I and it's always, yeah, I know, I see that. I have always, my kids have always been, I don't even know how to put it. They've always been just been so central to my life, all of them.
Mm.
And I mean, I've reflected that in my name. Um, I mean, my name is now legally, Ravin July. first and middle name, and that's actually all four of my kids' names put together.
Yeah, I think that's lovely.
And I just thought that it was fitting. I think it's a pretty name, and I think it's fitting. The July part of it, actually, Peach came up with that, and she was like, "Hey, what about this?" I was like, "That's great,
Why didn't I think of it?
right?"
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, as far as goals, my goals are to make sure that my kids are good.
Hmm. Yep. And then your transitioning goals, you're taking it like one day at a time, I suppose, because Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right. Right. I mean, I started 17 years ago, and I was off and on hormones for 17 years, where I would be on for like 6 months and then off for a couple of years, and on for a few months and then off for a year, and just repetitively for 17 years. And this is
Mm.
now the first time that I've been solidly on the same hormones, taking the same dosage at the same time every day for a year, and it's prescribed over a year now, and it's prescribed by a doctor. And
Right.
I'm getting them legally. I'm not like buying them online. I'm legally
Mm.
getting them. So this is the first time for that. And the difference in actually following an actual regimen and actually doing it is so much different. Like I joked about, the growth earlier, but I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I'm doing it the right way. So, and
Well,
my face has changed. It's just everything.
sure. Well, I mean, you've always been an LGBT person since I've known you, but you've moved from the G to the T, and I'm wondering within that community, is that hard? Is there are there biases that someone who's outside the
Yes.
community like me wouldn't even know about?
Yes.
Describe, elaborate.
The LG and the B, obviously not all, hashtag not all LGB, but the L, the G, and the B, um, do not embrace the T.
And
Um,
what do you think the reasons are for that? Or is that just your
I
perception
think
of it?
for no, I mean it's kind of like a documented kind of a thing where there's a lot of
Okay.
bigotry within the LGBT community towards transgender people, and a lot of it I think has to do with labels. Where the LGB, it's a completely different kind of thing. It isn't identity as far as like personal identity. It's more of an orientation, right? And it's gay and trans are totally different things,
Yeah,
and to be
totally.
lumped under the same umbrella, the same group, is a little weird. But the gay community, just in general, has always been the um, the melting pot. The place where all of the unwanteds go for community. Um, it's always been where the weirdos and the oddballs and the freaks. It's always the modern gay movement was started by trans women. So I mean it's fitting, but trans people have always been kind of like 1 foot outside the community, because of the differences between orientation and identity. So
And have you had any besides well, actually it's family members included, but I already know the answer to part of that. But I mean, have you had any long-standing relationships who were okay with you before when you were the G, but not okay now because you're the T?
I've been very lucky. The only thing has been family. Um, I'm not going to badmouth my family. I love my family,
Of course.
um, most of them. Um, but I mean, there is, a lot of they just don't get it. You know, they just don't
Right.
get it, and you know, a lot of
And
negative things were said.
does
Some
that
negative things
how
were
much does
said.
that bother you that they don't get it? Does it bother you that they don't get it, or does it bother you that they don't try to get it?
It bothers me that they don't try to get it. A lot of people don't understand, and fine. There's nothing wrong with not understanding. But there is something wrong with not giving it an effort. There is something wrong with, like, you don't have to like something, you don't have to understand something. You just have to respect me as a person, and understand that I know who I am better than anyone else does.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
Whatever it's worth, I'm happy to give you that. I mean, I'm happy to give everybody that. You know what I mean? That's, to me, that's the bottom. That's the least people should expect from each other.
yeah, it is a very small ask, and I'm not able to get that from some people that I
Right.
would like to get it from. Um, and I'm not going to bash anybody. I mean, unless I talk about my brother, I could bash my brother for hours and be totally fine with that. But other than that,
No, sure. But I mean, like, some people would rather feel right than feel like they understand. You know what I mean? And I think,
well, some people just want to be right. Is that
and
what you mean?
they think they're right or they feel right, but they haven't even
Right,
investigated their own point of
right.
view
So
to justifiably think it's right. Do you know what I mean? Or am I
again,
overstating the mark?
not bashing anybody. I mean, you had brought up earlier that I just started presenting in June. So here's what happened. Like, I didn't decide. Well, now is a good time. Um, there was like this slow march, that got up to that point. Um, when the November before, I had restarted on hormones under a doctor's care, um, and body started to change, and some of the changes were becoming hard to miss. It was becoming harder and harder to hide. My skin changed. The texture of my skin changed. People started saying how I looked like I was getting younger instead of getting older, and it's a side effect of the estrogen. Um, so I began to have to lie to people to hide the fact that I was transitioning. Oh, I'm doing a facial routine, every day, and blah 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 blah. Doesn't look great, that kind of stuff. Well, okay, so last winter, my son bought a house, and I was helping him move, and my daughter was in with me in the truck with me, and it was just the two of us, and we were talking, and I told her. She had no idea, and I was shocked that she had no idea. I was like, "How could you miss these?" She's like, "Didn't even notice." So it's okay. So that was down. So I was talking to Peach, and I was just like, I told Rochelle, and it's like, she's like, "Oh shit, wow, okay." Um, And then it was like, it's baby steps and stuff. And then one day in late May, early June, I went to the diner where my mom goes every morning. She goes to the same diner every morning and she has coffee. And I went to the diner and I was sitting with her and she was telling me about my older sister's coworker who tried to commit suicide. He's in the hospital. He tried to kill himself because his daughter, this is what she said, daughter, told him that she was trans. And I said, so his son. And she said, no, it's a girl. I said, no, yeah, okay. Genetically, it's a girl. But, she's transitioning to a boy. So that's a him. And she's like, well, I don't know. And I don't know why anybody would do that. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know why he would try to kill himself because his daughter is transitioning. He should be happy for her. He should embrace her as him and should say, this is my son. It has nothing to do with him. Why would he try to kill himself? It has nothing to do with him.
Hmm.
And she said, well, I don't know, blah, 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 whatever. And I was just like, okay, need to tell you something, ma. And that was it. And
Yeah. Wow.
once I told her, it was like, well, this is done. There's no reason to hide. I can now, explore and who I am and examine it, and I can start experimenting, and I started wearing women's clothing, and I was like, okay, all right, you know, deciding what I liked and what I didn't like, and what felt right and what didn't. Um, and that's a process that I'm still going through. Um, but that was pretty much, like I said, there was like benchmarks. Well, that was probably the most recent, was when I sat down with my mom. You know,
Hmm. Well, it's got. Hang on. Who could possibly get that top this interview? Michelle Obama. No, it's going to be a toughie, but I'll work on it. um, yeah. Well, I do want to wind the interview up relatively soon.
okay.
Unless you think there's huge chapters of your life that you wanted to talk about that I haven't really asked you about.
I got to tell you honestly, I barely touched on anything.
I know that. See, that's why I'm putting it out there.
um, so I don't know. I mean, whatever. I don't mind talking about anything, and I will. I like talking about myself, so I will. You know, whatever
No,
you want to know.
I really respect how open you are as well.
If the people in the chat, you know. Okay, so here's the thing. I am the most attractive trans woman on YouTube at this time today on this channel, and I'm proud of that. I am the smartest and most attractive trans woman in my house. I'm proud of that. Um, I have no problem like being open. I have no problem talking about it. I have no problem using my dead name or having somebody dead name me unless they're being a dick about it. If somebody's going to be a dick about it and try to use it as a weapon, that's different. But just like to talk about it or bring it up, I have no problem with that.
Sure, of course.
Refer to me as a boy or a man when talking about my previous life. I'm fine with that. I don't have a lot of those hang-ups. A lot of trans women do. I know that Natalie ContraPoints has mentioned regretting transitioning openly, and I don't know why. I don't think she has really elaborated. She just said
she has either, but I think, but when prior to transitioning, um, uh, there hadn't been any content on that ContraPoints channel for a long time, and then when they came back, there was some great, amazing, great videos, and they amassed this huge following of people that wasn't there before, and then they went for transition.
So okay, so my bra, sorry. That's something I got to get used to too. It's like my bra keeps showing, and I'm like, I have no idea. I did not go through the training course that girls get at 13. You know, they all go away to school. I don't know if you knew that, right? Girls, it's like a weekend, and they go away for a weekend all the same time when they're 13, and they're taught how to do things, like how to pick things up, how to wear a bra where it doesn't show. Um, um, what else? I don't know. I'm making this up as I go. I have no idea. What else could it be? I don't know. You know, and they learn all this stuff at like a camp, girl camp, and you know they're drilled on it and everything else. And then Sunday night they go home and they're good. The rest of their lives they carry this knowledge with them. And I didn't get that. So, but now going back to like Natalie and her thing. I understand to a point. Like I joke about it and talk about it, and it's something I'm kind of proud of and something I'm kind of horrified by. A couple of months ago, I had 400 friends on Facebook. Now, in just a couple of months, now I've got 4.6 thousand friends, and it's overwhelming. Having that many people like demanding, and obviously not all of them at the same time, but having a lot of people like that demanding time and attention. And it's like, I don't owe any of them anything. And I know a couple of them are here, at least they were here because they had left some people in the chat I know from Facebook. Like Tori's a woman that I was talking to on Facebook the other day. She sent me a message tonight saying that she would be here for this. So I don't know if she's still here or not. But she's somebody from Facebook. And, you know, we had a nice conversation. I really don't know her, but we had a nice conversation. And, you know, she's one of the few that I was able to talk to because there's only so many hours in a day. I don't get paid to be alive. So, do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, I have things that I have to do. I've got kids in a house and cooking and cleaning, and I'm a housewife. Um, there's only so much time. And I can't just not do things so I can talk to people who want to talk to me. And most of the time, they don't want to talk to me about anything that's important. So it's just like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm good. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Because it's just like, oh, you're beautiful. Oh, nice boobs. Oh, you're so sweet. Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Love you to death. I got to go. I got shit to do. But it's overwhelming and it's weird and it's kind of cool and it's kind of scary. And so, I mean, on YouTube was such a visual medium. Natalie, to get that rush that she got, and she did, it was amazing to watch. I can get how that can be like, but she was popular before. You're muted.
Absolutely. She's up with pre-transition. That's the thing.
That's the thing.
When ContraPoints was gone for like 2 or 3 years and then came back about a year before she transitioned, and at that comeback, the channel went from like 13,000 to 100,000 like subs in no time at all. I mean, the
video quality changed.
See a channel grow that fast,
and not even just transition. The video quality changed completely.
Yeah.
Her videos before transition and before the comeback, I thought were kind of boring and pretentious. I liked her. I mean, I met her in Washington, D.C., and I told her to her face that I thought she was pretentious. And she said, well, that's because I am. And I was like, cool, okay, great. And, we got along great. Me, Peach, and Natalie, we went to the museums and stuff and hung out. And it was cool. She signed my pants, the famous pants that I auctioned off, got a lot of money for charity.
That's pretty cool.
She signed. It was funny. I posted a picture of her signing the pants, and I put the caption, both of the people in this picture have transitioned. So, but I mean, yeah, the video quality changed a lot. So there was a rush because of that. And then she transitioned and I think she got like an additional, because it does come with it comes with the boobs and the hair. It comes with it. I mean, it's amazing the amount of attention that I get. And I kind of wish that I was on on YouTube now. Because maybe I could make some money on Patreon or something,
If only there was something you could do about that.
I know. Here's the thing. I am not very talented. And this isn't, this isn't me like, in all seriousness, in all honesty, I am not very talented. I don't make very good videos. I don't do scripting. And when I do script, it's obvious I'm reading from a script, and I think that's awful. Although I loved editing, I was never really all that good at it. I had a couple of special effects that I could do that I thought were really cool, that came out really well. But that was it. It was very limited. And most of it had to do with text. So I could make like the glass letters and that kind of stuff. That was fun. That was neat. So, and I'm not very smart. And again, I'm not like, look at Natalie. She's brilliant. Peach, she's brilliant. Blair White, although I can't stand her, she's smart and she really knows how to present herself.
Yeah. I can't stand her either, but she's smart.
She's absolutely beautiful. And it's a shame that that's hidden behind all the ugliness. But I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, she has such a huge following though, because not only because she's attractive, she's also smart. And I'm none of that. I have nothing to offer. I mean, I spent a decade on YouTube.
Scintillating personality, my dear.
I don't know. I don't know. What would I make videos doing? What would I make? I mean, I could see making videos of me talking like this, but I don't know. Who's going to watch that?
Me. I used to watch those videos all the time.
I don't know.
I mean, I prefer simple videos. I don't like the fact that when you look at the homepage now, there's almost. I used to be subscribed to like 300 people that were just regular people talking in their living room or their kitchen or wherever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
And I watched probably 40 videos a day, of my friends and subscribers. I mean, basically, back in the day, everyone who's I was subscribed to was also subscribed to me. That goes back to the community we were talking about before.
Right.
You know,
Which we never really talked about that community. We kind of touched on it and moved on.
we did. It kind of moved on, but I mean, there are several different reasons why it sort of all fell apart. But
Yeah. But there's no denying that it existed. I mean, there are people that say, oh no, we were never a community, and it's just like, okay, we know each other, we've spoken, we interact in this realm that is held together by this topic. That's a community.
Yeah. Right.
We don't have to agree. We don't have to like each other. There is this topic that holds this certain number of people kind of in its grasp, and they all interact. That's all it takes.
Yeah. Deep Ashtray in the comments mentions the video response challenges were awesome. I had a lot of fun. And YouTube totally changed in 2013 when it took away the video response option. I mean, it was no longer it went from being what I thought was the best social platform, or potentially the best social platform for social media, to a straight media entertainment platform, and it's really unfortunate because little channels like mine, the way the algorithms work and stuff, no matter how amazingly great I was, it wouldn't matter. And do you find that disinhibits you from making a new set of videos? Because I find it does me. I'm thinking to myself, and don't get me wrong, I'm perfectly happy if I only get 100 views. I'm like, I have to get lots of views or whatever. I just want my shit to be seen. But YouTube makes it harder and harder to be seen, and I just object to that,
And that's the thing is, like, I wouldn't mind making money on YouTube if I could. I was a partner. Back when I could be a partner, I can't anymore. That's gone. But I was a partner, but I never made a dime. I never ever made a dime. So any money that had accrued that I never got, they still have, because I never got it. And there has to be something because I was a partner. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I never monetized my channel, but either YouTube has monetized my channel since I've been not making content, and I just noticed the other day, or some clever pirate has gone in and gone, oh, look at all these unmonetized videos, and just started putting copyrights on my videos and getting money for them. I don't really know, but I'm not getting the money, and there's ads on my videos that never used to be there. That's all I know.
That's YouTube. They put ads on everything now. And
to be honest, to me, it's a fair trade, because even though I didn't want ads on my videos, I never made YouTube any money, and I take up a lot of bandwidth. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a fair trade.
I don't really think you do. I don't think you take up that much bandwidth, not as much as you might think. You really don't.
1,000 videos plus, that doesn't take up nothing. It takes up a lot of bandwidth for someone who's not paying or making them any money.
I suppose, but you're just a drop in the bucket, though, in a very, very, very large bucket.
I'm not even a drop in the bucket. I'm more like a fucking a subatomic particle.
Yeah, I was going to say you're a drop in the bucket. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't worry about that, but I get what you're saying. But I agree. Like, I mean, part of the reason why I don't just run out and start making videos again is why? Who's going to watch it? What am I going to talk about? Number two, who's going to watch it? Number three, what am I going to get out of this other than devoting my time and my energy? Yeah, good grief. I mean, I don't want to go out and start making videos so I can get a lot of trans, anti-trans hatred directed at me. Most you ever
Tommy from the Bronx is in the comment section. Tommy, I have invited you for one of these interviews. I expect a response, even if it's negative. Don't fucking brush me off, bro. That's all I'm saying. I'll mess you up. Knuckle sandwich. Anyway.
So I never made a dime. And like I said, I mean, because there was you had to get $100 worth of revenue before they send you a check. and I had probably had racked up about $90 that they never sent, and now I'm not a partner anymore. So that $90, which was rightfully mine, is absorbed back into their system. So fuck you, Google.
I guess you should have made more videos then.
Oh, come on, please. You remember back in the day, I made as many videos as Wagner. I was putting up 1 or 2 videos a day. So,
Wagner. Good old Wagner. Now, there's a good example of proof that there was an atheist community. Wagner put out not less than 1 video a day. Sometimes he put out 2, 3, 4 videos a day. And
at my peak, I was doing 1 or 2.
yeah, I mean, I was doing about 10 videos a week back in the day. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. And like I said, I made partner, and I never made a dime. And Google sucks because it is evil. I don't care what their slogan used to be. And they dropped that slogan because they were so clearly evil. They had to drop the domain.
Yeah. But I mean, in the comment section there, Deep Ashtray says Wagner rocked it. And I mean, what Wagner used to do wouldn't fly nowadays on YouTube. Wouldn't fly. Most of the old pawnage videos as well wouldn't fly now. You'd get your channel yanked in no time at all if you did. In fact, on Twitter, the algorithms, the AI now is such that when you type in comments on YouTube or Twitter, this is on Twitter I'm talking about, I tried to call someone a cunt because I lived in the UK and that kind of is natural to me, right? And I type out the word and I press send and I get a message from Twitter. Are you sure you want to send this message? It might offend someone with the language. And so I put an apostrophe where the U is because I really wanted to use the word and didn't want to lose my channel or get a temporary suspension for using the C word. But I mean, like, oh my goodness, it didn't used to be like that. I mean, this level of, I don't want to call it censorship, but it's kind of close, you know? Yeah, I don't like it.
Exactly, Green Machine. I hope this isn't too loud. I really do. I mean, furnace been running like crazy tonight.
It's not too bad.
Okay, good. It is so cold.
Yeah. Well, anyway, listen, I would like to end the show at some point soon. So if there's anything else that you'd like to ask, I want to ask you a question real quick. Besides Peach, right? Who's the best friend you've ever had? And are you still friends?
Best friend I ever had was Al. I don't know if you remember Al. He briefly had a YouTube channel. He is the guy who was my business partner in the deli.
No, I don't think I know him.
He, after Ozzy and I broke up, before I was on YouTube, before I met Peach, I was meeting guys through Craigslist. I'd post ads on Craigslist, and he lived locally, and he answered an ad, and he took me out to dinner. And you know, he's a couple years older than me, not a whole lot, but a couple years older than me. But he looks a lot older. His hair is all white. You know, government employee, and he looks like a government employee. Really good guy. A little on the weird side because I think he's undiagnosed autistic, and I'm not putting him down. I don't use autism as an insult because one, that's wrong, and number two, one of my kids is on the spectrum, so I don't. So I believe he was undiagnosed on the spectrum, and because he would do things, he would always ask a lot of questions. Just, are you cold? Do you want me to put the heat on? Do you want just constant? It was like a constant. It's like, dude, you need to relax. Just breathe. But anyway, he was really interested in a relationship, and after going out with him, I realized I was not. But I also thought he was a really nice guy. So I'm like, look, we can be friends, but that's it. And for a number of years. Um, he was like every day. He was like at my side. We were like, best friends. We did everything together, and I miss him. I do. Um,
When's the last time
but
you seen him?
I saw him the end of last summer, which is really bad considering he only lives a couple of miles away. But with COVID, with the kids, and it's hard. It's hard to do anything. And his life kind of moved on after the deli closed. He just kind of went his own way. And I miss him. But yeah, he was my best friend I ever had.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You're lucky because not everybody gets that kind of thing, you know. I mean, I know plenty of people who have lots of acquaintances but don't have any real friends, and I kind of find that terrifying. I have lots of acquaintances, but I have a lot of really strong friendships. You know, after my second marriage failed, and I sort of thought to myself, well, I'm never going to fall in love again, right? So I tried. I therefore went and deliberately, thinking I was going to be single for the rest of my life at the time, I just deliberately just decided to make my all sorts of strong, super strong, familial, strong friendships, you know. And in the UK, I've got dozens of people who are as close as family to me, you know. So yeah, it's good, man. And I think that's I hope that that it comes back for you, Raven, with Al. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because the
I
person
hope
is the
so.
same person.
I hope so. It's just it's hard. We had a falling out when the deli closed. Right before the deli closed, it was part of the reason that it ended up closing.
Oh, I
Uh,
see.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know that before.
Yeah. But I mean, we're very different people. Um, he's a gay conservative. Not a Republican, but he's a conservative. And you know, trying to flip him to a Democrat was a challenge.
Well, I did, yeah. I have a hard time wrapping my head around the concept of a gay conservative. I mean, I have met homosexual men who tell me they're Republicans, but I always thought it was. I never really believed they were actual conservatives. I don't know. It's kind of hard to
Maybe like a
describe.
fiscal conservative.
Well, I mean, you know how some people are born Catholic and some people are born Muslim and some people are born gay. Some people are born Republicans. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't actually practice it. They just are, you know.
Al's father had a gun repair business. He built and repaired and guns and sold guns. So it was kind of what he did. That's how he made his money. So they were all very, gun-toting, NRA supporting Republicans. And Al was a civilian employee for the United States Army. So, it was just that kind of mindset.
Right. What?
Anybody in the chat have questions for me?
Yeah, yeah. If anyone has in the chat has a question for Raven, now's the time.
Now is actually a pretty good time for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there, you can hear my chair. So considering there's like 6 people in here, if you want and you don't like that my chair makes all this noise, we can solve that. Send me a message asking for my Amazon wish list, and I will give it to you. And the very first item on the list is a pink gaming chair that I want really bad.
How bad do you want it?
I want it really bad. It's really cute. It's really cute. And it's only $140. It's a steal. And it will be none of this. Now it's cool.
I can't believe Deep Ashtray or Tommy from the Bronx or the Green Machine, or if he's still there, Vegas, doesn't have a question for you. I can't believe it.
Vegas had asked a question earlier, and we were talking, so I didn't really address it.
I don't know if I can scroll back up to it or not.
Yes, they make chairs for gaming. Come on.
Here it is. Okay, the question, I will put it on the screen.
No. No, no, no. I actually don't know a whole lot of trans people. Um, oh, and the trans women that were in before, if they're still here, I appreciate your friendship and I appreciate your messages and love you to death. I'm not attracted to trans women, which seems to be a rarity these days. Um, I see all these trans women talking about other trans women and, just in very sexual ways. And I am not turned on by trans women. I am not attracted to trans women. Um, so
Now,
there's
see,
only one.
if I said that, people might call me transphobic.
Oh, I never said I would never date a trans woman.
No,
If I
I'm
were single,
literally, if I said I wasn't attracted to trans women, do you remember a few years ago there was a trans girl called Riley? Someone I can't remember
yeah,
Riley's last name,
right.
but there was a whole big
Dennis. Was it
kerfuffle about it. Huh?
Riley Dennis?
Some
It was Riley
some
Dennis.
I can't remember, to be honest. I wouldn't want to commit to that, but yeah. Um, but no, Riley used to say that if you were a if you said that you wouldn't date a trans person, or if you couldn't be attracted to a trans person, that is by definition transphobic. What do you think about that?
Um, I would never rule out dating a trans person, though.
Sure.
I can just say that initially because I'm not really attracted to women, just in
Right.
general. So
That's the bigger
so
part
it's
of the issue.
it's still kind of just it's in keeping with what I'm attracted to. But I mean, just I don't have a lot of cisgendered women, throwing their panties at me, you know.
Sure.
But I do have a lot of trans women that are constantly hitting on me, and
Hmm.
like I said, love them to death. Um, I'm just not attracted. If they were men, you know, we can talk.
Sure, I get it, because that's where your proclivity lies. You're mostly attracted to men, and that always
And
has
which
been the
is
case.
and that's always been the case, and that goes back to what we were saying earlier. Is that I am, a I used to be a gay man in a straight relationship, but now I'm a straight woman in a gay relationship, which is not really accurate either,
There's a whole
because
sitcom right
Peach is
there all by
I
itself.
know I know, and like Peach isn't a lesbian though. Like
I
everyone
know.
knows Peach isn't gay; she's a lesbian, and I joke all the time that she's now in a lesbian relationship, and she just rolls her eyes at me. So, but I mean, whatever. There is a couple of trans women that I look at and I go, wow. Blair, Natalie. Um, I have a friend. I don't know if I should say her name on here. That I am so jealous of because she's absolutely beautiful. Um, and every time she posts a picture on Facebook, I'm like, would you look at this bitch? She is gorgeous. Um,
See, I think of the thing now. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm open to that. Okay, because I don't know very much about this type of thing, but to me, it's like a few years ago, like maybe 8 or 9 years ago, there was a big conversation on YouTube at the time about how, like Mr. Repzion and other people were going about how they didn't like they had racial dating preferences and they didn't like to date outside their own race, but that's not racist. And my attitude is it's not racist to say I'm not attracted to this particular person or that particular person, or even this particular, like, I don't know, let's just say
right.
East Asian people or whatever. It's not necessarily racist to say I'm not attracted to them. What's racist is to say there's no attractive black people, or there's no attractive Asian people, or there's no
Right.
attractive trans
Okay.
women.
Right.
I
Like
think
saying that I'm not
that to
attracted
me
to
is where it's bigoted. You know?
right. So saying you're not attracted to certain individuals, no matter what their race is, isn't racist. Like if somebody's like, "Hey, Raven, you think Mike Tyson's hot?" I don't. No. That does not mean that there aren't black men that I find attractive. There are.
Sure.
There aren't a whole lot, because we do have preferences. But I would never rule out. Actually, I've I've been with black men, so
See,
I mean,
for me, right, I personally like, I can recognize beauty in any individual,
right,
male or female, young or old, It doesn't
There's
necessarily matter, but that doesn't
there's a
necessarily
model.
translate to attraction for me. Recognizing someone is beautiful doesn't mean I'm attracted to them. Not
There's
not
a
for me.
model who is famous because of how black she is. She's dark. She's black, 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 but she's beautiful. And I don't know the answer to this. Is she beautiful because of how black she is? Or would she be equally beautiful if her skin wasn't so unique? And I really don't know. I have no idea. All I know is that when I see her, all I can think is, wow, she is beautiful.
I don't know that I can answer that honestly. All I know is that when I see people outside my race, like if I see, for example, a beautiful black girl, right? I tend to like the beautifulness of her African features, as it were, if you want to call it that, right? I'm not sort of conditioned to think, oh, women should look this way or that way. I
Right.
had a conversation with someone, like I say, about 8 years ago when all this was going on YouTube, and this person said to me, "I'm not attracted to Asian women," and I'm like, "That's more than half the women in the world." Like literally. What are you
Yeah,
talking about? I mean,
I suppose you could say that there is at least a tinge of racism in that. I mean, I don't know. I'm no expert on any of this stuff. I think it could be just based on stereotypes that the person has just never really examined. And I know just from being with Peach, I've had to go through a lot of examining biases that I didn't even know I had.
sure.
And I think that's normal for people to have biases that they don't know about. And if they're willing to examine them, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
So
Joe did a video way back when about subconscious bias. And at the time, I got all indignant, thinking, I don't have any subconscious bias because I'm a very self examined person. I was way too full of myself. And
yeah,
then
but you
afterwards, of course, but afterwards, after I thought about it, I thought, well, how can you know if you don't have a subconscious bias or not? It's subconscious, right? And so therefore, I realized I was being a pompous dick. So,
very
yes, keep asking us
transgender
questions.
women subculture. I don't know exactly what you mean. I guess I don't know what you mean exactly. Um, and I also
I'm not sure either. Does it mean like clothes fashions? Is this like a transgender woman's fashion that's separate from other women's fashion, or is that what deep ashtray means, or what? I don't know.
I don't know. I do want to answer Tommy. When am I going to invite you over to have a few drinks behind the bar? Nobody. Oh, that's not entirely true. Only once has anybody ever had a drink at that bar. Some of that alcohol up there, most of it is unopened. All of it is several years old at this point, 3 or 4 years. Um,
You got it when
so
you moved in. You've not cracked it up.
right, yeah, pretty much. There were some that were opened and it had turned and was nasty and I had to get rid of. But like some of that's never even been opened. And you're not that far away. So you want to come have a drink? Come have a drink.
That sounds like
Uh,
a good plan. One of these
yeah.
days I want to meet Tommy from the Bronx and your good self as well, Raven. Listen, I'm going to wrap this interview up. It's been a gas. Thank you very much for participating and for being willing to be the first person on. I mean, the pressure. You know.
No, I don't think there was a lot of pressure, but it was fitting. And I'm glad you had me on because it was fitting.
Yeah.
So it
It
was
just
cool. It
made
was fun.
sense. Yeah, and just anybody who's in the chat, I'll be doing interviews. I've got another 11 or 12 people after Raven already scheduled for interviews, and after I exhaust all of the hosts and former hosts on the Breakfast Club, I might offer to interview people that I talk to in the chat. You never know. People in the audience, you never know. Because I love the jamborees. Raven, you came to the very second jamboree and you've been to every one since then. And I really appreciate that. And as we've already discussed on the jamborees, it's kind of more like what the Breakfast Club is really supposed to be about, a conversation. And that's where I'm at. I want to have good conversations, but that doesn't have to be where six people are competing with each other all the time. And I think I want to do more videos where, like, say, for example, in the summer before I moved over to this country, I did one with Kazoom and I did one with Bionic Dance. But me and Bionic Dance talked about sci-fi, and me and Kazoom talked about spirituality. And I might do more stuff like that, where it's just like this, where it's me and one or me and two other people talking about a particular topic, rather than having everybody talk about who the hell knows what. So I'm going to be making a few changes for the channel just to make sure it doesn't get stale, and that we keep people figuring out what they have to expect.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I hope so. Anyway, thanks again. I'll see you tomorrow night, Raven, right? You're going to be back?
Should be, yeah.
Okay, and I hope the usual gang of reprobates there in the comment section is also back.